All righty. Well, welcome everyone. We're going to give folks a moment or two to come online here. We are just tuning in with our landscape litter in Calgary. These are Jazz, Pads Jazz, and BC Guide Dogs Dougie puppies. And so we'll just give folks a moment or two to come online, and then we'll get started and introduce these little babies because it's the first time we have had them on our podcast. So apparently they had a big romp today, and so now they're all asleep. So we're going to get the adorable sleepy sweetness going on here. So Robin, do you want to just take a second and introduce yourself? I know we've had you on many times, but we might have folks that haven't met you before.
Introduce myself. Okay. So I'm Robin Breeder in Calgary, and I've been with Pads. Oh, Tracy, we started at the same time. How long is it?
8 years.
8 years, I think. 8, 9 years. Must be 9. I think this is our 12th litter. So we've had a lot of litters, not Jazz's 12th. No, this is Jazz's 3rd litter.
Nice. Well, yeah, fortunately, Jazz has not had 12 litters. We don't do that around here. Jazz came to us from another program and entered our breeding program as an adult. And she's just such a fun little girl. So what were her previous litters, just for those who haven't been around?
Her first litter was the cheese litter, and she had 5 puppies. And her second litter was the Gulf litter, and she had 6. So this is a big one for her. And she's a little girl. She's normally less than 50 pounds, just under.
Teeny tiny girl with a big belly full of puppies. All right. So shall we meet these babies? Do you want to introduce them? So this is our landscape litter. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to share with people, if you're following us on Facebook Live, you can post any questions you have in the comment section. If you're watching on Zoom, then you can type in the Q&A box any questions you have for myself or for Robin or the puppies, and we will try and answer them. But we're also going to introduce you to this litter. So you said a large litter, Robin. How many puppies do we have?
We have 9.
Wow. So yes, many puppies. So that is like her last 2 litters combined.
Yeah, almost.
So, all right.
Puppy. So come say hi. Come on.
Oh my gosh, they're so cute.
Hey guys. Get them over towards their peeps. Come on, puppies. So we have a lot of boys. We've got, let's see, in the yellow collar here, this is Dune.
Oh, Dune, you're so cute.
And in the green collar, we have Mr. Forrest. Hello. He's a brindle boy. It's kind of probably hard to see as brindle.
Oh my gosh, look at those brindle pitters. Hi, handsome.
And here in the gray collar, we have Cliff.
Oh my gosh, hi, Cliff. Nice to meet you. I'm going to spotlight you so that people can see the puppies a little bit bigger here. No one needs to see.
Our only 2 girls right here. This is our teeny tiny girl. I call her Half Pint. Her name's Prairie.
Hi, Prairie. Oh my gosh, she is so tiny.
She's very tiny. And then we've got her sister, Tyga. Hey, Tyga, are you a little bit scared? And then the other sleepy boys, hey, puppies, puppies. Come on.
They're like, oh, is something happening?
We got Polar here in the blue collar, our only yellow boy.
Oh my gosh.
And we got Summer Some are Summit in orange and brown here.
Hello, Summit.
And two that we got introduced. Oh, we got two sleepy ones still. Puppy.
Oh, and Mama's here, so we're all very excited.
Oh,
Jazz is like, I would like to be introduced as well.
That's here.
So Jessica, I saw your question. Yes, these puppies are in Calgary. So Robin has been a breeder caretaker in Calgary for many, many years. And this is Jazz's third litter. But you said right at the beginning, did you say it's your 12th litter for pets?
I think it might be the 12th, 11th or 12th.
11th or 12th. So there's been a lot of puppies through Robin's house. But I think this might be close to your biggest litter, or was it the reindeer?
I think I've had maybe 4 or 9 puppies.
Oh, there you go.
The helicopter were 9 and the reindeer.
Wonderful. So tell us about these puppies. What are they like? I mean, when you've had many litters, you start to kind of see differences in trends. Are they similar to other litters that Jazz has had? Or are they personality wise?
Yeah, I think they are kind of similar. Jazz puppies, I think having 9 though, they get to be a little more, I don't know, roof mentality, right?
Yeah.
They're fighting. Jazz only has 10 teats, so there's only 1 extra. So it's always a, kind of mayhem at the milk bar.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of influences them a bit too.
Yeah. Most of my litters were huge. And so I've never had that experience of like a smaller litter and kind of how that impacts the group dynamic. But I know that the large group dynamic, especially as they start to get older, and we were talking before we came on air here, they've started solid food this week. And so that's always an adventure when there's many puppies with feet in food bowls, etc. So tell us a little bit about where they're at and what's going on in their world right now.
So we just started kennel training actually today. So they did have some quiet time for about an hour, which is really nice, but they're still pretty sleepy at this age. Yeah. So they did kennel time today. So that's going to start kind of every day from now on. We'll do a little bit of kennel time, which is, usually the cleaning time.
Yeah.
And we try and take them individually away from their litter mates. So they're exposed to having some one-on-one time, which is basically just cuddling on the couch. They explore a little, but it's still pretty scary for them being somewhere else.
Yeah. But an important part of their development to learn that other places and being alone is happy and safe and good, even though it's unfamiliar. So Meredith is asking, do they have a favorite toy or object?
They do. They quite like this one. I see them pulling on this a lot. Yeah. But we rotate the toys. So every 2 days they have all brand new toys. Yeah. So they're still getting exposed to a lot of them.
Yeah.
They've had this crate for 2 days now, and they like to go on top of it.
Yeah. And for those that are watching, if you wonder why a crate, it's interesting how very simple objects like this can serve a lot of different purposes. So the crate has a little bit of that grid on the back, so a different texture under their feet, but also helping them to learn kind of like how to move their bodies and climb from something that is a safe stable kind of height. And I know I don't see any in the pen right now, but I know Robin also has things that like teeter and wobble for them to climb on, because that also teaches them things that, you know, unstable surfaces can also be fun and interactive. And so you see this little child's little toddler center. It just gives them things to go up and over and around. There's a tiny little slide there that you can't see. And I see in the foreground, there's a little piano, xylophone kind of piano. So when their feet hit the buttons or the keys on that, sounds emerge. And so all of these things are intentional to kind of expose them to a wide variety of different things, to teach them that the world is full of novel things, but it's still a safe place. So when Robin is talking about rotating toys, it's not just for the practicality of rotating things in and out and keeping them clean, etc., but also to provide that level of novelty and introduce something, let them have an experience with it, and then bring it back again later. And often, I know from my own experience, we see that like first time, there's often a lot of curiosity, sometimes a little bit of worry about objects, but the second or third time it's in there, you know, it just becomes kind of old hat to them. And that's a life skill that we're trying to build in them, that, hey, you know what, sometimes you're going to see something new and you might have to pause a minute and take it all in. But then the next time you encounter it, it's no big deal. So I'm trying to catch up. Oh my goodness, so many questions while I was talking. Oh, Tiff, who's one of our other breeder caretakers, says that cooking pot lids were always a hit with my litters so far. Yeah, so those metal lids, oh my goodness, I should bring some of those in. I was doing a big purge and I have some extras and I was like, what do I do with these things? There you go. And then Jessica's asking, Robin, do you do the circuit training that you did, the little obstacle courses for all your litters? Or does it vary depending on the personalities, etc.?
I definitely do it for all the litters. It varies on, I guess, skill level, depending on the puppies. So I always make their, you know, it's appropriate and not too hard for them, but hard that they're learning. Yeah.
Well, and I'm seeing lots more faces have joined in the last few minutes while we've been chatting. So if you just joined us, we're here with the landscape litter in Calgary with our volunteer breeder caretaker, Robin. Robin has raised a whole bunch of litters for us. This is Jazz's third litter for pads. So she had the cheese litter, and then, sorry, what was her other one? The golf litter. And so those guys are in training, going through training, or some of them, the cheese litter, have they all, I'm trying to think if any of them are in advanced training right now.
One of them is going to Australia, actually.
Oh, wow.
Breeding program. And another one was on a circuit down in the US. Queso was had quite a few dates down there.
Yeah.
And then the golf litter, I think they're on the next turn in.
Nice. Okay. So Robin just referred to a couple of things. One is one of our dogs going to Australia. So our wonderful Assisted Dogs International partners around the world, we exchange dogs. Australia has a unique challenge in that they can't import puppies without you know, potentially setting them up to fail because of quarantine requirements. And so we came to an agreement that we were going to rear some puppies and then qualify them as breeders. And once they were qualified and passed health clearances, et cetera, send them over as adults. And so that they can introduce some new genetics, because obviously in a country that has strict quarantine requirements, getting new genetics into the mix can be more challenging. And so that's exciting. And then, yes, our friend Queso. So I saw Queso at the ADI conference in California when he was headed down to go on his US tour as a stud dog. So he is rotating through some of our ADI programs, again, kind of sharing some genetic diversity amongst other programs. So with that, with these puppies on the ground, I think the other thing that I want to just touch on really briefly is that our program right now is actively recruiting raisers for these puppies that are up and coming. So our Calgary program, our Okanagan program, our West Coast program, we're all recruiting raisers right now. So I will be transparent and share out with all of you that COVID has been a challenging time for our organization, and not just during COVID, but post-COVID. So as most of the world knows, now that the world is kind of unlocking and returning to some sense of normal, people are traveling again. And so we had a really, really unique experience in that we just had a turn in of dogs. And typically when we have dogs come into advanced training, most of the people that are turning their dogs in will turn around and take a new puppy. And as we're going into kind of the spring and summer, a lot of our volunteers who haven't been able to travel for several years have said, you know, we're going to hold off until the fall because we want to do some traveling, et cetera, before we commit to a new puppy. And we're super excited for our volunteers, as we are for ourselves, that we can do those things. But it's definitely posed some challenges for our program when we have litters up and coming and we need homes for them. So if you have ever thought about raising a PADS dog, please reach out to us. The link is pads.ca/volunteer, and you can find information there about what's involved, and sign up and come out and see a puppy class and learn more, because raising these puppies is not only a wonderful experience and a great way to learn about dog training, if that's something that's of interest to you, but also I will vouch for the fact that it also connects you into the most extraordinary community of people. You know, and I think that's something that is often lost in our busy life. And I think a lot of us felt the loss of as well during COVID, you know, not being able to kind of have those connections into the community. But I can certainly say I attended a puppy class in Calgary recently. What a fun group this crew is, and which also is true of our other regions as well. It's just that lots of puppies coming down the pike. So if you're interested, check that out. Or if you have questions, feel free to ask them right now. We're happy to answer them. And then, oh my goodness, every time we talk, there's all the questions. Hang on one second. Tara is not good at multitasking. Oh, Guara's asking if there's sign up for helping you sit. And so this would be for existing volunteers that help with breeder caretakers. But Robin, I don't know if you're needing any kind of like spelling off in the coming weeks from your Calgary volunteers, but Guara is asking.
Socialization period for the dog. So it is good for them to see, you know, kids and adults with beards or glasses or hats or, you know, different things like that to help them socialize.
Yeah. Yeah. And then somebody else was asking, who is the puppy on the crate who is sound asleep?
He's tucked in there behind now.
Oh my goodness. So dang cute. All right. If anybody is watching that has any questions, feel free to post them in the comment section on Facebook Live, or if you're watching on Zoom, you can type questions into the Q&A box and we'll try and answer them on air. These guys have just turned 4 weeks old and have just started solid food. So this is our landscape litter, and they are stinking adorable. And Guara says they'll get a fake beard for the visit. So there you go. Oh my goodness, so sweet. There really is nothing better than just watching a puddle of puppies. I just want to like sit here and just like pretend that I'm Robin with my lap full of puppies. It's a happy, happy place.
I can't complain. It's pretty nice.
All right. And Chloe's asking, what types of homes are we looking for? And would it be doable with children? Absolutely, it would. So we look for all sorts of different homes because we have all sorts of different clients. And so we want people that live in apartments and people that live in houses and people that live in the city and people that live in the country. And you can be single or a couple or, you know, retired or have children, etc. And all of those environments are great. One of the things that we work really, really hard for is to match the right puppy to the right raiser. And it's one of the things that actually worries us when we've got a shortage of raisers is that we always want to make the best matches possible. So if we have more volunteers to select from, we can appropriately match all of our puppies. Certainly we would never put a puppy in a situation that wasn't the right situation for them, but having some options and flexibility there and some raisers kind of coming down the pike so that we can look at each one of these little pups and see what they specifically need in a raising home. Some puppies would thrive in a home with children. Other puppies might find it a little overwhelming. And so we always want to match them up well. So, but regardless of your situation, so many or most of our raisers take dogs to work with them or to school as they kind of go about their life. That is wonderful for the puppies. So they have public access from the time they're 8 weeks old. Obviously, we try to manage their world a little bit for the first little while and introduce them in a really positive, productive way. But these little guys are going to be hitting the streets in about 4 weeks here. So there is still time to kind of work through the process of qualifying before they go out to raisers. And I think my understanding is that some of these puppies are going to be going to, I think there's going to be some of them in each of our regions. I could be wrong, but so some will be in Calgary and some in the West Coast region, which is our like sea to sky to hope kind of area in the Lower Mainland, and then possibly the Okanagan. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. With that, do we have any more last minute questions? We've got a few minutes left here. I will let you all just bask in the puppy sweetness. But if there's anybody asking, oh, this is fun. So Michelle just commented, we're getting one of this litter from ABC for Good Dog Service Canines. So Michelle, if you're still watching, tell us where Good Dog is. So PADS is part of something called the ADI Breeding Cooperative, or ABC, and ADI, there's an acronym within the acronym. ADI is Assistance Dogs International. And so Jazz is an ABC breeder, which means she lives with us at PADS and we love her and care for her and all those good things. But a portion of every one of her litters, then some of the puppies will go out back into the puppy queue with ABC. And so various Assistance Dogs International programs are members of ABC. And I gathered from Michelle's comment that Good Dog is one of those members. And so what that means is when these guys are 8 weeks old, they will travel to a new program and move some of that wonderful genetic material around. So they're headquartered in California, but apparently this puppy is going to be raised by Michelle in South Carolina. So wonderful that you're able to watch, Michelle. That's really exciting. And we're excited that you're going to be getting one of these pups, and would love to kind of hear updates down the road. So Corinne's saying the two blondes and Robin's look quite different in size. It is not the camera angle, Corinne. We actually, it's very, very rare. A lot of times people think that there's a runt in every litter. It's actually quite rare to have a true runt. You're always going to have size variety within a litter. And the smallest pup is not necessarily a runt. It's just the smallest puppy in the litter. But little girl here, Prairie, is actually, and I asked Jackie about this before I came on air, whether she was a true runt or not. And she is, she's teeny tiny. And so she's about, is she about a third of the size of her litter mates?
Yeah, like, no, can you see there?
Yeah. Yeah. So she's teeny tiny.
A little, she's gaining a little more weight, like maybe 2.5 times, or her brothers are bigger.
Yeah. And so,
just over 1 kilo, and they're getting close to 3.
yeah. So she, I don't know if everybody heard that. She's just over 1 kilo and the others are getting close to 3. So, and so do we worry about little ones? We absolutely do, especially with a large litter like this one, when you have tinies in the mix and there's already a lot of competition at the milk bar. So Jazz has 10 teats. And so when the puppies go to nurse and there's 9 of them, trying to find all 10 can be tricky. And on dogs, some of when puppies are going to nurse, some of the nipples are easier to get to and also fuller with milk than others. And so anytime you have a large litter, there's a level of management involved, but particularly if you have one that's very tiny, that's easily going to get knocked off by larger siblings. There is some management involved with making sure that they're thriving. And Robin, do you want to talk about it a little bit in terms of what you've done to kind of help Prairie to kind of thrive? Because I know you put a post up in our private group the other day, but you want to share with those watching how you've kind of managed her through the last 4 weeks? Oh, we've lost sound. Robin, you're muted.
Sorry. So how's that?
Oh, gotcha. There you go.
She was quite small when she was born. She was only 190 grams. And, you know, everyone else was about 400. And so one of her brothers would start a teat because it takes a bit of work to bring the milk down, and they do some kneading. And so it takes a bit of muscle strength. So we would transfer her to one that was already started, so that she had one where the milk was already coming down and didn't have to work so hard. We also tried supplementing, so we bottle fed her, but it's really had limited success because she did not like formula compared to mommy's milk. And then this last week, probably a whole week long, Jazz has been feeding the puppy standing up. And so she couldn't reach, so we had to go in there and hold her the whole time.
Oh, goodness. Too small to reach. Well, and the good news is that now that they're 4 weeks and they start eating solid food, that it makes getting food in a little bit easier, hopefully. And I know when I've had smaller pups that often when they hit that 4-week mark and have access to food or even an individual bowl of food that they can kind of take their time with, that they tend to kind of put on some weight. It's always interesting to see how the smaller pups mature as adults, whether or not they stay small, or because there isn't necessarily a lot of correlation between birth weight and adult size. I know we've talked about this on the podcast before, and I use an example of a litter where I had a 690 gram female that matured out to about 60 pounds, and her 400 gram brother matured out to 92 or 93 pounds. And so that birth weight is more determined by kind of their position in the uterus, et cetera, and kind of how they grow in utero. But we do have little ones that stay smaller as they mature. The pup that those of you that watch us regularly on the podcast, we've been following Sawyer's adventure. Every time she comes into the office, I'm shocked by how tiny she is. I think she's still under 40 pounds, and she's, I think, going on 6 or 8 months now, which is around the time they tend to kind of hit, at least their adult height is kind of, in that, 8 to 10 month range. So we shall see how Little Prairie develops as time goes on. So she's definitely adorable. So, all right. Well, we're coming up to time here. Anything else you want to add, Robin? Anything I haven't covered?
Oh, these guys are adorable. I would raise them all if I could, but they definitely need raisers.
Yeah, they definitely need raisers. So go check out pats.ca/volunteer. And whether you're in Calgary, the Okanagan, or Greater Vancouver kind of area, feel free to submit an application, or if you have questions, reach out to us. We'd be happy to chat more. But with that, I am going to say a huge thank you. And Meredith has posted the link in the comments here for everybody. So if you want to go check out more information about volunteering, check it out there. And thank you so much, Robin, not just for joining us today, but for all your hard work with these babies. This is, I know everybody watching today is jealous as you're sitting in the puppy pile, but it is definitely payment for some very hard 24/7 kind of work. So thank you for everything that you do and the amazing start that you give these babies. Oh my gosh, the close-ups are to die for. So kudos on the camera work. I'm just like, I just don't want it to end because I want to watch babies. So thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you again soon.